But if a con artist ends up buying his own bullshit, they end up being caught. So this next story has all the trappings of the American dream come true. If you are a con artist or confidence man, that is. Of course, we are talking about George Santos, Republican representative-elect from Long Island. Of note, he is the first openly gay Republican representative to win office while not an incumbent. Pretty sweet, not gonna lie, unlike Santos. But don't let his wily charms and mannerisms fool you. He is a fraudster. In fact, we're going to bring up segments of his interview with longtime friend of the show and true progressive Tulsi Gabbard, who filled in for Tucker Carlson this week. Let's go ahead and watch that now.
Now that all of this has been revealed, what does the word integrity mean to you?
Well, Tulsi, thank you for having me. To answer your question, integrity is very important. And like I said to the New York Post, embellishing
what does it mean, though?
Mistake.
What does it mean? Because the meaning of the word actually matters in practice.
So this is pretty hilarious, okay? He said embellished his resume. As we're going to see, almost everything that he talked about in the run-up to the election was a straight-up lie. And it's great to see Tulsi Gabbard take him on like this. I think it's great because it exposes a Republican to Republican viewers about how much that sometimes they just lie to you. But let's continue on.
Practice.
Of course, it means to carry yourself in an honorable way. And I made a mistake. And I think humans are flawed, and we all make mistakes, Tulsi.
He did more than a mistake. A mistake would be like, oh, I, ran this charity for 3 years and you actually ran it for 2. Or, oh, I was deployed to like Afghanistan in the year 2010 or something. And it turns out it was actually 2011 or whatever. These are outright lies and fabrications. Don't let him fool you. Again, don't let him fool you. We're going to talk about all of it.
See, I think we can all look at ourselves in the mirror and admit that once in our life we made a mistake. I'm having to admit this in national television for the whole country to see. And I have the courage to do so because I believe that in order to move past this and move forward and be an effective member of Congress, I have to face my mistakes, and I'm facing them.
Integrity means yes.
Okay. So it jumps around here a bit because I cut this up in order to try to avoid the YouTube copyright or whatever. But it should be noted here that he is not admitting to anything. He's just like, hey, let's sweep it under the rug, We're going to see more of that. We're going to see more of that.
Carrying yourself with honor, but it means telling the truth, being a person of integrity. And you have no shame in the people who are now you're asking to trust you to go and be their voice for them, their families, and their kids in Washington.
Tulsi, absolutely. I can say the same thing about the Democrats and the party.
Are you?
Oh, okay. Let's listen to that bit again.
See, I can say the same thing about the Democrats and the party.
Deflect, deny, deflect. Again, trying to sweep it under the rug. Whoa. Don't look at me. I'm not the liar. They're the liars. Over there. Those Democrats. They're dirty liars. They're those wily Democrats and their woke ideology. I see what you're doing. But what is it about woke ideology? Isn't it kind of playing into identity politics a little bit? Did you do that? Oh, I think you did it. And then lied about it.
Are you Jewish? We've got a letter that your campaign sent out earlier this year, which reads as follows. As a proud American Jew, I've been to Israel numerous times for educational, business, and leisurely trips. You said there in that letter that you are, quote, a proud American Jew. How do you explain that? My
heritage is Jewish. I've always identified as Jewish. I was raised a practicing Catholic. I think I've gone through this. Even I've not being raised a practicing Jew. I've always joked with friends and circles, even in the campaign, I'd say, guys, I'm Jewish. Remember, I was raised Catholic. So
an embellishment on a resume. You said you...
What? I'm Jewish? Bro. Now, it should be stated here that if he was ethnically Jewish and was raised Catholic or whatever, that'd be fine. But as we're going to see later, it's not what happened. Not what happened. And he's refusing to cop to any of this. Pretty ridiculous.
Embellishment on a resume. You said you worked at Goldman Sachs and Citigroup, but they've said we've got no record of this guy working for us. You've said you've gone to and graduated from these universities, but they've said we've got no record of that. These are blatant lies, and it calls into question how your constituents and the American people can believe anything that you may say when you are.
Look at this. George Anthony was then offered an exciting opportunity with Goldman Sachs, but what the thought would be the pinnacle of his career was not as fulfilling as he had anticipated. This is from his own website, right? George4ny.com. Going to look at that a little bit later too. But they don't know him. They don't know that guy. They don't have records of him graduating from that college. What is this? What is he going to say? What is he going to say? Well, I think you know.
Standing on the floor of the House of Representatives, supposedly fighting for them. That's the real issue here.
Well, look, I agree with what you're saying. And as I stated, and I continue, we can debate my resume and how I worked with firms such as Goldman and Citigroup.
Is it debatable or is it just false? Is it debatable or is it just false?
No, it's not false at all. It's debatable. I can sit down and explain to you what you can do in private equity, in capital intro, via servicing limited partners and general partners. And we can have this discussion that's going to go way above the American people's head. But
whoa. Now he's not just lying. He's being condescending to every single person trying to watch this show, saying it is just going to go over your head, guys. Bro, one, finance isn't that complicated. There's a lot of jargon, but everybody knows that it's like a little give, a little take here, and you can get this thing, you bring investors together and you invest in something, right? That's what a lot of finance is. That is what you claim to have done primarily. And then you have the gall to go on Tucker Carlson to sit here and lie to people about how debatable your resume is because you worked with instead of for. Oopsies. Nah, guy. You're just lying. And it's obvious that that's what you're doing.
That's not what I campaigned on. I campaigned on delivering results for the American people. But
even Tulsi Gabbard was like, dude, what are you doing? That last little oof, wow, was like, I can't believe this guy's doing this. I can't believe it. It's just bananas to her, as well as it should be to everybody else. I guess when you're a habitual liar, you're just going to keep doubling down and hopefully it'll just go away. Because if you admit fault, then people are like, oh, well, he was actually lying. He admitted to it. But come on. Now, as nice it is to watch this Republican on Republican violence, the real story is how he lied to his district about his entire life. He's since tried to memory hold the lies. But as we know, nothing is actually deleted from the internet. Let's go over now to his website now versus to what it said a few weeks ago or even a few days ago. I don't know when it changed, but we're going to look at that change. All right, let's go ahead and over to it. All right, well, look. Okay, so this is the website now. All right, this is it now. This is it from the Wayback Machine. Okay, let's see if there's anything we can notice any differences. All right, looks so good so far. Looks all right. Scroll down. All right, George Santos is a first generation American born in Queens, New York. What's this? Hold up. That's already a change. Oh no. Wait, that's it? That's all this blurb is? There's two blurbs. Much longer. Let's look at what it says his Now About page says. Because there's a lot more here in the Wayback Machine. A lot more. Look at that. There's about 2 pages of stuff here. Autobiography and everything, right? A lot more there. What has he tried to memory hole? What is he saying to now? What is he copying to? I'm going to go ahead and cut off my camera here for a second so you guys can see this. So George Santos is the son of an immigrant who grew up in a basement apartment in Jackson Heights, Queens. Both his mother and father legally immigrated to the United States in search of the American dream, where they began their family on the foundations of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Over here, his story starts, "My story is the story of New York. I am a first-generation American whose parents immigrated from Brazil seeking the American dream. Opportunities to work hard, play by the rules, and achieve success. Unfortunately, the opportunities once available to my parents are becoming harder to achieve for my generation and our country." Curious. After graduating George Anthony and began working at Citigroup. I don't see either of those. Oh, look, it's gone. Citigroup is gone. So is his college. He's trying to memory hole it. But again, nothing on the internet. Deleted forever. So let's start looking at some of these lies, shall we? Santos claims that in 2010 he graduated with a bachelor's degree in economics and finance from Bausch College, public university in New York City. Yet the school was unable to find any record, even using simple variations of his first, middle, and last name, of having graduated that year. And he removed it from his website. So we know that's a lie because he's trying to memory hole it. He didn't graduate from this college, but he told the voters that he did. Now, another lie is that he said that his grandparents survived the Holocaust as Ukrainian Jewish refugees from Belgium. So he lied about being Jewish, and he lied about his family's history. And how do we know this is a lie? Because Forward, an independent Jewish newsroom, discovered that his grandparents were apparently born in Brazil before the Nazis even rose to power. It's one thing to believe a family legend about something. It's another thing to completely fabricate it. And this is a complete fabrication. Oh, but it gets worse. It gets worse, people. It gets so much worse. Because during an interview with WNYC, which is the local NPR station in New York, while campaigning, Santos said that people that work for me were impacted during the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando back in 2016. According to Santos, he lost 4 employees. But after reviewing the obituaries, the New York Times found that none of the 49 victims appear to have worked at the various firms Santos name drops in his biography and while campaigning. In other words, he made up victims of the Pulse nightclub shooting in order to gain sympathy from voters to think that he is one of them. Not only did he lie about being Jewish and having family that survived the Holocaust, while campaigning in New York, he also lied about having friends that were murdered in the Pulse nightclub. Wow. Those are the 2 most disgusting lies that he tells in this whole thing, but he just can't help to lie to make himself look better in every conceivable possible way. Relying on identity politics that Republicans are supposedly so against, but also trying to use animals to his advantage? Like, what? So what is that about? Well, he said that Friends of Pets is a charity that he ran from 2013 to 2018, which acted as an animal rescue operation that rescued 2,400 dogs and 280 cats. Aw, that's so sweet. He loves animals. He makes him a good person, right? Surprise, though, the Internal Revenue Service couldn't find any record of a registered charity with that name. So every little thing that can bring him sympathy, admiration, is a lie. Everything. And as we already stated, he said that he worked at Citigroup as an associated asset manager within their real estate division. That's curious. But a spokesman for the company told the New York Times not only could she not confirm Santos's employment, the company was unfamiliar with his self-described job title, and that Citi had sold off its asset management operations in 2005. Bro, where was the opposition research? Why was this guy not buried well before the campaign? How did he make it through the primary for Republicans and the general election without having any of this come to light? People need to be fired for this. This is disgusting. It should not have taken a win for people to be like, maybe we should look into this guy. As good as the Times reporting is now, why? That's their backyard. Why didn't they look into this beforehand? This is mind-blowing. But when the company shut down its asset management operations, he would have been just 17 years old. And not only that, Goldman Sachs have purported that Goldman Sachs could not find any record of him ever working for them either. But wait, he just didn't lie about working as asset manager on Wall Street. Oh, no. It appears he's lied about owning multiple properties as well, 13 to be exact. Now, why would he do that? Does he want to be seen as a real estate tycoon fraudster like Trump? We'll let you be the judge. Regardless of the reason, in his filing to get aid from the government due to COVID-19, he only listed one property, an apartment in Brazil. What makes this particularly spicy is the fact that Santos has faced multiple evictions as a renter himself, even being fined about $12,000 in civil judgment from multiple small-time landlords. And of course, he deleted a tweet about this as well. Let's go over to now. Wayback Machine, all right? So the tweet that he deleted is this one. All right, he deleted this one. Will we landlords ever be able to take possession back of our property? My family and I are nearing a 1-year anniversary of not receiving rent for 13 properties. The state is collecting their tax, yet we get zero help from the government. We worked hard to acquire these assets. Aw, poor you. You're lying about everything. Now it almost feels like we're being punished. I hope that the My Senate can see how much harm this is causing us. We're not going to do whataboutism here, Liberty Twitcher. It's not good that anybody lies. That's true. But right now we're covering Santos. And we already talked about how he was trying to whataboutism his way out of this. I compared him to Trump because Trump is a real estate magnate and he is a supporter of Trump and was probably trying to be Trumpian. That's why I compared it to him. Now, here's the really juicy bits. Defrauding voters, while immoral, especially at this level, is not illegal per se. But defrauding capital? Well, that actually is. Santos says that Devolver is his family's firm that manages $80 million in assets and describes it as a capital introduction consulting company. That's a lot of words to saying we make people help people meet people with capital. We don't know much of this is fiction though, but we do know a little bit about the company and it's not good. Santos was working in business development at a company called Linkbridge Investors, where he moved up to become a vice president. This was proven via company documents and his May 2020 campaign disclosure form. After leaving that firm, Santos bounced between several ill-fated ventures. As he ran for Congress, he moved from Linkbridge to take on a new role as regional director of Harbor City Capital, a Florida-based investment company. Harbor City was slimy from the jump. It attracted investors with YouTube ads and guarantees of double-digit returns. Remember, if it's too good to be true, it probably is not true. You really have to make these scams less obvious, guys. And as a result, the SEC filed a lawsuit accusing the company and its founder of running a $17 million Ponzi scheme. Who would have guessed it? Every Ponzi scheme promises to take you to the moon. Luckily for George, and unlucky for the rest of us though, he was not named in the filing. He just worked there after all, right? You're supposed to believe that? 2 weeks later, after the SEC filing, a handful of Harbor City executives formed a new company called Red Strategies USA, as reported by the Daily Beast. Corporate filings listed the Devolver organization as a partial owner, even though the papers to register the Devolver would not be filed for another week. Curious. A shell game, perhaps? I don't know. But we're going to keep talking about it, because there's a lot to cover here. So Red Strategies was a short-lived venture. Federal campaign records show it did political consulting work for at least one politician, Tina Forte, a Republican who unsuccessfully challenged Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in November, before it was dissolved in September for failing to file an annual report. Annual reports are important. They are done in order to be upfront with investors and the government about their finances. So the Devolver organization seems to have flourished as Mr. Santos ran for office, though. According to Mr. Santos's disclosures, his work there earned him a salary of $750,000. So his salary as part owner of Red Strategies through this company granted him a salary of $750,000, where just 2 years previously, he was basically living hand to mouth and not paying rent. You can't make this up. You just can't. But by that time, though, it too was dissolved, also for failing to file an annual report. Curious. But when it was dissolved, Santos claims that it was worth more than $1 million. We all know what kind of person George Santos is. He's essentially followed the path of every confidence man in history. Lie big, lie often, and have just enough charisma and charm to smooth over the wrinkles. But if a con artist ends up buying his own bullshit, they end up being caught. And it appears that this is exactly what George did by running for office. He could have made a couple of $1 million and just left it there, but his appetite for fame and fortune could not be satiated, going as far to take money from unscrupulous sources and perhaps even breaking the law. Earlier this year, George has repeated numerous Russian talking points about Ukraine. He told the Washington Post, quote, "It's not like Ukraine is a great democracy. It's a totalitarian regime. They're not a great bastion of freedom," a congressman to be told the Washington Post. He also insisted that Ukraine welcomed the Russians into their provinces, an apparent reference to Vladimir Putin's 2014 invasion to prop up a rogue separatist parties, and that the Ukrainians in East feel more Russian than Ukrainian. And then there are these tweets. Always tweets to go back to. Joe Biden is willing to start a war in Eastern Europe and send American soldiers to a deadly combat zone to protect Ukraine's border, but fails miserably to protect the American southern border. This administration is a colossal failure top to bottom. No exceptions. Going on, he said, "We are going to enter a war in the middle of the Eastern Europe winter against Russia to defend the sovereignty of Ukraine. Meanwhile, this is the site at the US border where our sovereignty is no longer a priority." Well, these tweets are pretty standard Republican talking points, though. You've seen them all over the net, I'm sure. But the reason we're bringing this up is because the Daily Beast has found a sizable campaign contributions from Andrew Initar. Andrew Initar runs the venture firm Sparrow Capital, and the primary purpose of Sparrow Capital is to manage Viktor Velsenberg's investments. Who is Viktor Velsenberg? A Russian oligarch and member of Putin's court, of course. Sparrow Capital and Andrew Initar have both sought to unfreeze assets sanctioned by the federal government. This could be one of the motivating factors for their support of Santos. Another thing that's shifty, but not necessarily illegal. What is possibly illegal, though, is how he personally funded his campaign. Santos has admitted using cash from his company, the Volder organization, to fund his campaign, a move campaign finance experts say could add up to an unlawful $700,000 corporate contribution. The reason is that while candidates for federal office may give unlimited amounts of their own money to their campaigns, they cannot expressly tap corporate accounts to do so, and the Volder organization is a separate legal entity. Additionally, the Devolder organization has clients who would benefit from a successful Santos political bid. Those clients include the New York-based Talio Auto Group, two organizations tied to the influential Ruse family in southern Florida, and another firm associated with Long Island insurance magnate James C. Metzger. Santos acknowledged all four of these clients on Wednesday. Members of the Talio and Ruse families, along with Metzger, also happen to be top Santos's campaign donors. And some of them have further stakes in Long Island political scene, including major donations to top Santos ally, Representative Lee Zeldin, who lost his bid for governor this year. As the New York Times reported in its first article last week, dismantling many of the fresh-faced Republican lies, none of the businesses appeared to be on the financial disclosure that Santos filed this year. That failing, the Times reported, could run afoul of House ethic rules. We have a question that we have to get to before we start pontificating some more. And that is, who the heck paid this guy $750,000? Oh my God. Yes. So it appears that all this money that he's received has been through campaign consulting and basically shell games in order to hide money away from people. And if you would want to kind of get around campaign finance laws, you would do it through a dark money group, which is kind of quasi-legal, still illegal, but harder to track down, whatever. But if you're smart, you wouldn't name it after yourself, and you wouldn't be the sole proprietor of the organization trying to pay yourself the money. Instead, you would jump from one legal entity to another, to another, to another, and then to yourself. Santos, while appearing to be a good grifter, is not a very good criminal and did not think anything of this. So he's taking money from Russian oligarchs. He's taking money from business interests that want to make sure that their will is put upon and followed in order to avoid taxes or get other special favors. And that is how he went from rags to riches, going from a nobody to somebody with a little bit of power and elected into Congress.